All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is daily vlog number 306, and I'm actually recording it during the day and not like 2 minutes before midnight, so it comes out late. Hold, please. I need a drink. Much, much better. Okay, so today I need to look this up really, really quick. So, I've had a couple requests from the same person to talk about the idea of basically running games for strangers. And I guess, again, anyone that is really, really new to the channel, I learned to DM by going to friendly local game stores and then eventually going to conventions and DMing for strangers. Like, that's what I did. And because of my management experience, not only and just the fact that I learned to DM really, really quickly. Like, it came very naturally to me. I didn't just run games. I ran game programs. Like, the first store that I started playing as, we started with like 4 or 5 people in one DM playing 4th edition D&D. And the DM eventually got burnt out, and I started running when they couldn't show up. And again, we had maybe like 3 or 4 people at the table. Within 6 months, that store was running between 3 and 4 tables every night, each one having between about 5 to 7 players, and we had actually used every bit of available space inside that store. Like, there's literally nowhere to sit if you weren't playing D&D with us. And then I started helping run a convention, and I helped, even in the convention that I wasn't actually working for, I would help run D&D programs and stuff like that. So I sometimes kind of forget that that's not normal. Like, most people don't start playing D&D by walking into a room with a bunch of strangers and going, hey, want to do something weird together? By the way, if you do walk into a room with a bunch of strangers and go, hey, want to do something weird together, don't be surprised if they ask you to leave. It's not a good opening line. The bar was nice, but I was only there for a few minutes. That's the joke. So, because I recommend relatively often do conventions, play games at conventions and stuff like that, because it really is a lot of fun. I was having a conversation with some of my players either before we went live or after we went offline, because sometimes we'll just chill and chat and stuff like that. And again, I intentionally leave time before I start streaming for the players and me to just have a conversation. And we were oh no, is it a game that I was actually playing in? And we were just kind of shooting the shit, and we were just kind of talking about the idea of like random people just showing up to your game. And one of the other people had some bad experiences with kind of pickup group kind of things. And so they just really weren't a fan of it. And I said, I totally get that mindset. It is kind of scary to walk up to a bunch of strangers and then do something that, for lack of a better term, is a very intimate thing. Playing tabletop RPGs, you are expected to be invested, and you have a connection with the character that you've made, and it can be really overwhelming and anxiety inducing to be kind of surrounded by a bunch of people you don't know, and then be expected to share something that's very personal to you, which is the character that you've made. So, so they're going like, yeah, I really didn't like it. These people were assholes. And I said, you know what? I totally understand that. But I have the exact opposite experience. I ran literally thousands of hours of games for complete strangers. I intentionally, when I was running like game programs at friendly local game stores, I was the person that anybody knew. Anyone that was like curious, was like, what are those people doing? They were always pointed to me. And part of that had to do with the fact that before I became a gamer, I was a salesman. Before I was a salesman, I was an actor. I guess something that you just kind of take for granted when you're an actor is the idea of going into a room with a bunch of people that you don't know, and then sometimes quite literally becoming very intimate with them. Like I did not play romantic parts often, but I did play the romantic lead a couple different times, or a part where I had to be romantic with my scene partner a few times. And again, like when it's your job, when that's what you get paid to do, it's really not a big deal to come in and go, hi, my name is Jody. It's like, oh, hi, it's nice to meet you. So how do you like to kiss? Or why don't we just do this then? Like that was a thing that happened. And then I got into sales, and I was expected not only to just walk up to random strangers, but a lot of times the random strangers I was talking to were hostile to salesmen. And I just got very good at going, hi, my name is Jody. What can I help you with? And, being an actor, you get very, very used to being rejected constantly. Like being an actor is just rejection after rejection. And every so often you accidentally get cast in something. And then being male is just rejection after rejection, and then accidentally you fall into a relationship. And so I get it's the most natural thing in the world to me to walk up to random people I don't know and have perfectly normal conversations with them. And I realized after reading the most recent comment that was asking about, hey, how do you DM for strangers? And kind of sitting down and planning my response, that's not a normal experience for most people. So, by the way, anyone fixating on the whole acting thing and like going up to, getting put in a room with a random person and then having to kiss them. There was so many times, especially when I was in high school, people think, like, especially high schoolers, you think that, oh, they have to kiss on stage, it's going to be so romantic, or it's going to be that. It's not. I have done kissing scenes with perfect strangers. I have done, I did a show with my current girlfriend at the time where we had to, not only did we have to make out on stage, but the scene opened right after we had finished. You don't see anything, but we're both in bed together and I'm half clothed. And so it's never romantic. It's never fun. It's never enjoyable. It is always awkward. Doesn't matter how much you like the person you're doing the scene with, how gorgeous they are, how ugly they are. Doesn't matter. It's never fun. It's just work. That's what it is. It is. I have never talked to a single working actor that they're talking about like a romance scene that they had to do and they're like, oh, it was a lot of fun. It doesn't happen. And all those little anecdotes of like big movie stars talking about how much fun they had because their co-star was really really attractive, or like, what's her name? She played the Daenerys Targaryen on Game of Thrones. She tells all these stories about just how funny Jason Momoa was on set, which I would assume he was. He's probably everything I've heard about the dude is he's just the nicest dude in the world. But it's still awkward and it's still uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what anyone says. There's nothing fun about it. All right, so let's get back to D&D and RPGs. So, for people that are not weird nut jobs like I am, how do you walk into a room and run a game for people that you don't know? Step one, the absolute first thing that you need to do is you need to come into it with a plan. When I was doing stuff in friendly local game stores and in conventions, I ran a custom written adventure that I'd written myself once, or technically twice, because I ran the same adventure a couple times. The entirety of the rest of the thousands of hours that I did it, I ran pre-written adventures. For a number of reasons. One, it was a draw for players because the Adventures League, you could just bring any character you wanted as long as it was within the level range and hadn't played that particular adventure. You could just walk into a store, bring your character sheet, sit down and play, and then when you left, you would get to keep anything that you got during that adventure. So there was it was much easier to get people to play because it was more than just, oh, I had a fun time, I guess we can go, and I'm never going to be able to use this character again. Or the only time I'm ever allowed to use this character is when I go to this weird spot that sells dice and 40K miniatures. So that was nice. But the other aspect of it is when you are dealing with unknown variables, people that you don't know their intentions for coming to the table, you don't know experience or anything like that. It's nice to have something to fall back on. So the ability to have a script already makes running for strangers significantly easier. Does that mean you need to run pre-written adventures? No. And especially if you're new, I tend to recommend find a pre-written adventure that is reviewed well. If you can't find particular reviews, find somebody in the community that runs games and talk to them. I've had quite a few different times where I have contacted some of my friends from the D&D scene and the convention scene here in Wisconsin and Upper Illinois, where I've gone, hey, I'm looking for an adventure that does this. Which one does this? Or I have a bunch of players that are interested in this kind of adventure. Can you tell me something that'll work that way? And one of the things we used to do back when I did the convention circuit was we would just trade kind of reviews with each other, where it'd be like, hey, did you guys run 518? Say, oh yeah, damn, 518 was just really bad because of this and this, and I had to change this thing because if you don't, then later on in the adventure it doesn't work. I'm going to submit some feedback and say, hey, you need to change this. Or, hey, did you guys play 411? Oh man, 411 was so cool. My table did this, and this, and then they didn't realize that they were perfectly setting up this event over here, and it worked so beautifully. So other DMs or GMs that run pre-written adventures are going to have ones that they like running and ones that they don't. And it's also generally easier to get players to play a pre-written adventure than something that you custom build when you are new. When you have an established reputation and stuff like that, people are a little bit more willing to deal with the unknown. But if you're just really early playing for strangers, them being able to go, oh, this is an adventure and it got a bunch of reviews that are good, they feel significantly more comfortable. So bare minimum, step one, before you even go to where you are going to be running, have a plan. Either have a pre-written adventure or buy a pre-written adventure, find a pre-written adventure, look it over for how it's written, and take notes for the adventure that you want to run and put them in the same kind of order. Feel free to put things like in pre-written adventures, there's a thing called box text. The reason it's called box text is in the real old ones, it would be text that was outlined in a box. And what that meant was that was stuff that you were supposed to read directly to the players, whereas all the stuff that was not in boxes was stuff that you could paraphrase, or sometimes it would be notes for the DM itself, themselves. So feel free to, if you bring him into a castle or something, you have a cool descriptions, you want to make your own box text, write out your encounters and stuff like that, but go in with a plan. Because players are always going to make things interesting. Like, that's the entire reason that we play these games, is players are going to make things interesting. And if you don't have a plan, it's very, very easy for them to kind of take a left turn when you thought that they were going to take a right, and then go in a completely different direction that you just weren't prepared for, because it wasn't something that you thought about. So having something written down gives you somewhere, like if they do take that left turn, you can have them go on the little expedition that you want, and then you can slowly steer them back to the thing that you have created. It's not railroading, it's preparing. So yeah, step one, go in with a plan. Step two, when you get there, the first thing that you should be doing is getting to know your players. I've mentioned this many times before, but before every one of the games that I stream, I have the entire cast in a video call, and we just shoot the shit for a minimum of like 10 to 15 minutes. Most ones, most of the games that I run, we talk for like half an hour, 45 minutes, because starting on time is for losers. I would not recommend doing that, but you do need to spend a little bit of time, minimum of 10 minutes, getting to know your players. So you sit down at the table, or if you're doing it online, you get everything set up. Feel free, if you're going to use a GM screen, put your GM screen out, get all of your stuff down, and then as the players are coming in, you introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Jody. I'm going to be running the game. What's your name? Cool. What character are you playing, or how long have you been playing this particular game? Get some chit chat in there. I do recommend asking things like, how long have you been playing, or do you play any other systems? Because that will give you kind of a better idea of what to expect from your players. New players, like, oh, this is the first game I've ever played, or players that only play one particular RPG are going to be very, very different than someone that has a lot of experience that plays a lot of different things. So sit down, be friendly. You are, as the game master, you are going to be expected to be the leader of this group. And so there, a lot of times they may chit chat with each other, but if you don't, if you don't start something, they're not going to do it. So you are going to be expected to be the leader. So you should be the one that's kind of introducing yourself. You should be the one that's, asking questions and stuff like that. It doesn't mean be overbearing or anything like that, but understand they're going to be looking to you, because just most people do. And as much as you probably feel very awkward being in that situation, they probably do too. They are being put with a bunch of, put into a group of strangers just like you are. The big difference is they are bringing a very personal part of themselves and putting it on display for these people, whereas you have your nice GM screen that kind of separates you from them, and you're the one that's in control. So, so yeah, get to know your players a little bit. At the same time, understand, I guess we can call this step 3, know your time limit. If you are either playing in public or you are running an online game for strangers, people have lives. People have other things that they're doing. So understand what your player's time frame is, what they're when they're expecting to be done with the game, and stick to that. Something that can become really, really upsetting to a lot of people is simply like wasting time during the game and then not being able to finish because, well, I have to leave now. I told you I only had 3 hours to play the game, and you spent 2.5 hours chit-chatting and stuff like that. So understand what the time limit is. If you're playing in public, you will probably have a very strict time schedule. Like for convention play, you have a very, very strict time schedule. If you go over, then your players might miss their next event, and it's possible that the table you are playing at is already assigned to someone else in the next slot of Giga Games. So you are not only preventing your own players from being able to enjoy the rest of the Giga convention, but you are also preventing another group from being able to do that really necessary step 1 or step 2 of getting to know each other before you start playing. So understand what your time limits are. That's one of the things I like about running pre-written adventures, and why writing your own notes in that particular kind of style is very, very useful, because a pre-written adventure in general is going to be split up into like chapters or sections or something like that. And when you have, let's say, standard game at a convention is 4 hours. So what you can do is you can look at, let's say there's 3 sections. You can sit there and look at each section and go, well, what does each section have? The first section is mostly role-playing, and role-playing in and of itself tends to be faster than combat. So you can go, okay, well, if we take 10 minutes at the beginning to get to know each other, then we've got 3 hours and 50 minutes, and we have 3 sections. So we can probably do the first section in the remaining time that we have in that first hour. So we can do about 50 minutes of that. And then by the time we're getting to the first hour mark, we really should be moving on to the second section. And if you're not, if you're still role-playing a lot, then you can either kind of move some stuff around so that you can get to the next section quicker, or understand that in the next section you're going to have to cut some stuff. Section 2 has a little bit more combat, so let's call that an hour and a half. And then section 3 has the big boss battle and the epilogue. So we'll call that another hour and a half-ish. So separate it into slots, and then understand when you're running, if you're noticing that you're kind of quote-unquote running over to the time, that you need to kind of change some things. Maybe a combat encounter, they're doing really well. It's obvious that they're going to win, but the combat is just dragging on and on and on because people are missing and stuff like that. You can go, hey, so it looks like you guys are going to win. We're running a little bit short on time, so we're just going to do a couple more rolls and then say you're winning. Or if you don't want to do that kind of metagamey thing, you can basically, like, bad guys understand when they're losing. You can have the enemies surrender. You can have the enemies run away. Though if you have them run away, that can upset some players, because they're like, no, you'll never get away, and they'll chase them to death. But having them surrender can be a really simple, easy, in-game way to go, hey, we need to keep going, without the players thinking that you're trying to rush them along. You just go, yeah, they see that they're fucked, so they're going to surrender and hopefully live to see tomorrow. So yeah, step 3, know your time limits. Step 4, understand that players are going to be players, are going to be players, are going to be players. Again, I have thousands of hours of experience running for strangers. In all of that time, I think I had maybe 3 or 4 quote-unquote problem players. Players that were making it their mission to ensure that they were having fun at the expense of everyone else at the table. With a few rare exceptions, all the like RPG horror stories and stuff like that, those are flukes. The vast majority of people that are going to sign up for a game to play, whether it's in person, whether it's online, whether it's at a convention, whatever, they're there to play. So don't instantly just assume that you're going to, like, don't be on the defensive right from the get-go. The reason that these people are there is they want to play a game, just like you. So you need to treat them as such. If they're doing something that is disruptive to you, don't instantly just assume, well, they're trying to derail the game. No, they are trying to play the game. The entire reason that they are here is to play the game. If their particular playstyle isn't gelling with yours, it's not personal. This is just how they like to play, and it's generally pretty simple to go, hey, can I ask why you're doing this particular thing? And once you hear the explanation, go, oh, I was just wondering because it was starting to cause this particular problem, and I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were doing so that it didn't cause problems a little later on. Like, it's really, really simple. But at the same time, players are going to see different things than you do. Again, you have your plan, whether it's a custom written plan that you've made yourself or it's a pre-written story. You have your plan, but just because you have a plan doesn't mean that the players are going to follow the plan, and that's perfectly fine. Again, that thing of know your time, by having what you want to get done already planned out, you're going to know how much time you have for each different thing. And if they start going in a different direction, you're going to know how much time you have to get them back on the right path so that the thing can keep going. As you become more comfortable running things like, when I run games, I don't have a plan anymore. I do prep work by creating the world around, and then I just let the players do whatever they want, and I kind of just react to their choices. I do not recommend running your games that way unless you're crazy like me. Having a plan, having things written down and things like that is significantly better, significantly easier. It's just not how my brain works. So understand, if the players are going in a different direction, that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of different ways that you can still use the stuff that you planned. Like if they're going, like you had planned for this ambush in this forest clearing and they're not going into the forest, it's perfectly fine. Set the ambush somewhere else. One of the things we used to say when I was an actor was the audience doesn't have a script. And what we meant by that is when things go wrong on stage, and they will, the audience only knows that something's gone wrong when the actors telegraph it. When the actors go, oops, or they react like, what are you doing? However, if something is going wrong and everybody acts like it was intentional, then the audience has no idea. Even if the audience knows the show really, really well, if you do everything like you're doing it on purpose, the audience will go, wow, that was a really interesting choice. I can't believe that they decided to change the show in that particular way and it worked so well. Do it like you're doing it on purpose. Everything you do, you're doing on purpose. The same thing is true when you're interacting with your players. Just because they're going in a direction that you didn't plan for doesn't mean that you can't shift your plan in that direction. You created a bunch of combat encounters and they're not going to the right spots for your combat encounters. Put the combat encounters in different spots. That's fine. They're ignoring the big NPC that's supposed to give them the hint. It's absolutely fine. Have them find a note somewhere that gives them the exact same information. Let them make the choices that they want to make so they can go in the direction that they go, but it's still your story. You know, it's still the thing that you wrote. And so if something is required for them to be able to move forward, then they get to find it. whether it's from talking to the NPC that you created specifically to tell that information, or by interrogating one of the random bandits that they just happened upon while they were searching around. Doesn't matter how they get the information, give them the information, and then they will get back on the track that you want. Again, I don't consider it railroading as much as ensuring that the story gets told. Railroading is a little bit different, where you don't allow them to make their own choices. Like they go, well, you go, okay, so you've been hired to go to the forest. And they go, well, can we go to the bakery first? No, the bakery's closed. So you've been hired to go to the forest. Oh, I wanted to see if I could get a healing potion. All the healing potions in the world are poison. Okay. All right, so you go into the forest. Yeah, I guess we're going into the forest. And you see two paths. The left path looks very nice, and there's lots of sun going through. The right path has thorns and thickets and nasty things. Well, because it's overgrown, a lot less people go there. Let's try the other path, and maybe we won't find things. No, it's so overgrown that you can't go there. That's railroading, where you literally prevent them from making their own choices. But moving combat encounters around and giving them information from other sources is not railroading. It's just ensuring that despite the fact that they made different choices than you were expecting, they still get to continue the story. So yeah, players are going to be players, are going to be players, are going to be players. Treat them as such. They're not bad people. They're there to play a game, just like you are. Tip number 5. If for whatever reason you do have to deal with a problem player, again, it's exceedingly rare, but it does happen. I generally tend to advise people don't plan for problem players, because you plan for problem players, you are going to expect them to be there. So just don't plan for them to be there. Again, I did this for years, and I had like 3 or 4 the entire time. And the vast majority of, I think, 2 or 3 of the quote-unquote problem players, after having a quick conversation with them, they became amazing players. One of them actually turned into one of my DMs for a while. He used to run games for one of the stores that I ran their program for. He was running his own tables, and I think he was like 13 or 14 when he started too. Like, he was really young, and he just didn't quite understand that actions have consequences, and he kept kind of like bullying people in the game. And I just sat him down and had a conversation, and then after that point, he was great. And like I said, he started running his own tables and everything like that. It was really amazing. So if you do have to deal with a problem player, because again, with strangers, it can happen. Someone can come there for less than altruistic reasons. It's extremely rare, but it does happen. Don't take it personally. They're not there specifically because they want to hurt you or anyone else at your table. It's not that you did anything wrong. They just decided that this is the way that they wanted to interact with the game. And dealing with a problem player is really, really simple. If they're doing something that is actively stopping other people from having fun, acknowledge it and go, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't do this particular thing because it's stopping other people from having fun. It's preventing this particular thing and preventing that particular thing. And in general, the absolute best way to do that is individually. If you call out someone in front of a group, they are significantly more likely to get defensive, and it can turn into an argument and a conflict. If you take them aside and go, hey, real quick, can I have a conversation with you? And just take them away from the table and go, hey, listen, understand that, you're trying to have fun just like the rest of us. This particular thing that you're doing is causing some issues. It's causing other people to not be able to have fun. So if you could, I'd really prefer if you didn't do that. That, in general, is all it takes to, quote-unquote, deal with a problem player. Just take them aside and go, hey, listen, you're doing this particular thing. Identify the behavior, specifically say, hey, this is what you are doing that's causing problems. Tell them the problem it is causing without attacking that person in particular. So it's not that you are a bad person and you are causing all this. It's this action is causing a problem. This is the particular particular problem that is causing, would you be kind enough to just not do this particular thing? Don't blame them. Focus on the action itself, the results of that action, and then make a request. I'd really appreciate it if you didn't do that anymore. Could you not do that? Is there another way that we could run your character? Or is there something I could do that would give you a way to not need to do that particular thing? Like I said, 99% of the time, that's all it takes to deal with a problem player. If something like that doesn't work, like always start off with in private, they continue to do whatever the thing is happening, that's when you can correct them in front of the rest of the group, where you can just go, hey, we had a conversation. I asked you to stop that. I got to put my foot down. This is causing problems. It needs to stop happening now. Again, it's not a you're a bad person. It's a, hey, this is how it's going to be. It's not a condescension. It's not an attack. It is just, hey, this is how it needs to be. This is a fact that I'm stating, like Jupiter is a planet. We are not going to do that. That's how it works. And if there continues to be a problem, it's as simple as, hey, I don't think this table is a good fit for you. I'm unfortunately going to have to ask you to leave the table. That's all it takes. If you're playing in public, most game store owners will back you up. They don't want problem players there any more than you do. So if you have an issue where you're like, no, I'm not going to go, you can go, okay, go to whoever's running the store or the convention or anything, go, hey, I've got a problem player. He's been doing this, this, and this. I asked him to stop. He refused to. I've now asked him to leave the table. They will take care of everything else. You don't need to deal with that. Now, like I said, this is incredibly rare. Unbelievably rare. It very, very rarely happens. But if it does, and a lot of people, a lot of new GMs, that is their biggest fear, is that they're going to have to deal with a problem player. They're going to attack me. They're not. Again, everybody sitting down at the table is there to have fun. Some people, the way that they have fun is they require other people to not have fun in order for them to have fun, or they need to be the only person having fun in order for them to have fun. They're very, very rare, but they do exist. But again, their entire purpose there is to have fun. It's not to attack you. It's not to hurt the other people at the table. They're just there to have fun, just like you. So in the very, very rare instance of having to deal with a problem player, don't take it personally. Start by taking them aside. If that doesn't work, correct them in front of the rest of the table and just go, hey, again, not a you're a bad person. Just go, hey, that's not happening anymore. We're done. And then if that doesn't work, it's, hey, I don't think this table's a good fit for you. Unfortunately, I got to ask you to leave. That's all you have to do. If it's online, it's even easier. End the call. Block them, mute them, whatever you need to do. If you're running, you are probably the person that has control over whatever you're using, whether it's your virtual tabletop or the Zoom call. You have the ability to kind of get them out of it. So that's really, really simple and easy. So yeah, don't really worry about problem players. They're extremely rare, and 99% of the time, if you just take them aside and go, hey, listen, I'm having an issue with this. Can we not do that? If you're running online and you can't physically take them aside, it's as simple as going, hey guys, can we take a break for like 5 minutes? I just need to have a conversation with someone, and send them a message, or create, if you're on Discord, create a kind of private chat room where you and them can go to have a conversation. Like, there's a bunch of different ways. Send them an email if you have to. It's a bunch of different ways to have a private conversation. Even in like the middle of a Zoom call, you can go, hey guys, can everyone mute so I can have a conversation with Frank here. Again, everyone's there to have fun. So while they're there, that's what it is. The only other quote-unquote problem player that you might deal with, if you are dealing with like a rules lawyer or something like that, feel free in that step 2 where you're introducing yourself, feel free to go, hey, I'm relatively new at this. I'm going to try and do everything. If I make a ruling that doesn't quite work with the rules, just kind of run with it. I'm learning. We're all learning together. It's not really that big a deal. And again, if you have a rules lawyer that's constantly correcting you, constantly, it's the same basic process. It's just, hey, can I have a conversation with you? Understand you know this game better than I do. That's absolutely great. I'm not going to become a better GM if you don't let me make mistakes. So I appreciate what you're doing going forward. I don't need you to tell me how to run the game. That's why I'm running the game. I'm learning how to do this. I need to make my own mistakes. So, all right. And then tip number 6. When everything is said and done, talk to them again. Get some feedback from them. Every single time I finish a session, I will almost always go, hey, did you guys have fun? Or I hope you guys had fun. Because again, the entire purpose, the entire reason that you're doing this is to have fun. Whether you're running it in public, whether you're running it in private, whatever, you are all coming together to have fun. It's the whole point of this. So I always will end every single session with, hey, thank you so much for doing this. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. You don't need to go, do you guys have any critiques for me? Because here's another tip. If you ask for feedback, people will give it to you. And some people will give you very nice feedback, and some people will not. And if you are not prepared to be chewed out by someone thinking that they are helping you, don't ask for feedback. But simply a simple question of, hey, did you guys have fun? Or, I hope you guys had fun. I had fun. Leave something that's going to leave an impression with them, a positive impression with them. If you have time and you can sit and chit-chat with them, those are some of the most fun conversations I have had, is after finishing a session and realizing that nobody has to go anywhere immediately, just kind of sitting at the table or going off and getting a drink or something, and just kind of chillaxing with the people that just ran a game for. I've learned so much from just little anecdotal stories where we're just going, oh yeah, no, that was really, really fun. It actually reminds me of this other adventure that I played where we were supposed to do this, but we actually did that. That's a lot of fun. But that wind down period is important if you can have it. Again, if you've got time constraints, you got time constraints. You can't do it. But it's really simple and it's really fast to simply go, hey, thank you so much for this. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. Now I've got to go do my next thing, or I know you guys have somewhere to go. So, yeah. So overall, that is my kind of tips for running for strangers. I highly recommend that you do it. I cannot tell you how many amazing experiences I had running for complete and utter strangers, and how many like really strong friendships I made running for complete strangers. It was an absolute blast, and I loved absolutely everything about it. Is it a bit scary? Absolutely. But it's something that, as a game master, you eventually just have to kind of get over. I get it, playing with your friends is tons of fun. And I play with my friends constantly. I have a game on Saturday that I run with my friends. And I run games with my friends on Wednesdays. And my Daily December campaign, I am going to be running for a bunch of my friends that I don't normally get to run with. So, yeah, I get playing with friends is very comfortable and it's very, very fun, and you have in-jokes and everything like that. But all of the people that I run games for now that are my friends, I met through playing D&D, and I met through kind of open calls and stuff like that. There's a few people that I don't remember how exactly I met them, but I know it was through something where they were just a random person. And like my friend Ilea, she plays in my Zelda universe tabletop RPG that I run on Saturdays. The reason that I know Ilea is because she was a moderator for Geek and Sundry. And I was an avid viewer of Geek and Sundry's Twitch channel. And we were just chatting before an episode of something started, or maybe it's in the middle of the episode, and so everybody's chatting and everything, and her screen name is Green-Eyed Trombonist, or I think it's Green-Eyed T-Bone on Twitch, because they have a limited amount, or maybe it was on Twitch it's Green-Eyed Trombonist. Anyway, Green-Eyed Trombonist. So she just casually mentioned something like, man, I wish I could play D&D, but I have no one to play with. And being the person I am, I just said, do you want to play? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I run a parody campaign. We're going to be having another episode soon. Do you want to join us? She's like, well, I don't know how to play. It's perfectly fine. Everyone that I play with currently, their first time playing was with me in that particular campaign. Everybody. I was the first DM that any of them had. And now most of them, I think, run their own games. And that's how I got to know Eileen. Now she's a very close a friend of mine. We're close enough that we have very, very different views on a lot of different things. Politically, she's much more left-leaning. I'm much more right-leaning. We disagree on a lot of things. And she's the kind of friend that we can have just immovable beliefs, where she's on one side, I'm the other, and neither one of us is going to convince the other to change our beliefs whatsoever. And we can have a very in-depth conversation about that particular topic, and neither one of us gets mad. And we both think the other one is absolutely 100% wrong, and neither one of us gets mad, neither one of us gets offended. We can say to each other's faces, well, you're flat wrong. And neither one of us has a problem with it. That is a true friend to me. Someone that can tell you, you're wrong, but I still love you. So, yeah, I really do recommend. Try stuff like this. There are lots of horror stories on the internet of bad experiences. A lot of them are played up for Reddit attention. And the few ones that are actually real are so incredibly rare. And even if you do have something like that, like I've had my own horror stories, 100%. One day I may share them. I'm still not over a few of them yet, but one day I may share them. But yeah, don't let a single bad experience ruin the entire thing. Playing with a bunch of strangers is so much fun. It really, really is. Getting a bunch of people you've never met before and all working together to do something fun isn't another experience like it. So, anyway, I hope this is helpful, not only to the person that asked, which is Arlong Numbers. I hope this is beneficial for you. If anyone has more specific questions, feel free to put them down in the comments down below. Or what I'd really love to hear, do you have any experiences sitting down with a bunch of strangers and playing? Whether it was at a friendly local game store, whether it was a convention one time, whether it was online, you did like Roll20 looking for groupers or something like that. Let me know in the comments down below. I will tell you one of my fondest memories. I went to Gen Con. The only time I've ever been to Gen Con. I think it was like 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. It was in Indianapolis. It was the D&D Next playtest had just started that year. And so I go to Gen Con and I get in line for to play D&D Next. They had this introductory adventure. I picked up a pre-made monk character, and I sat down with a bunch of people I had never met before in my entire life. And the adventure that we were playing was basically we were all at Candlekeep, and Candlekeep was under attack by a blue dragon. And it was what's called an epic. So it was actually multiple tables all working together, and each table got a different thing. My particular to the table, we had to go to, I think, a tower, and we had to go and save some books or something like that. It was relatively simple. The first roll of the game, somebody does something, and they go, oh, I want to try this. And because this is the D&D Next playtext, the Dungeon Master goes, well, we're going to introduce a brand new feature that is exclusive, that's brand new to D&D Next. It's called Advantage. What that means is you're going to roll 2d20s, and you're going to take the higher of the two rolls, and that's what you're going to use for your check. You're getting advantage because of this particular thing. The guy goes, that's really cool. Let's do it. He rolls double ones. The first roll I ever experienced in D&D Next was double ones on advantage. I still have the picture of it on my phone because literally when he did that, everybody at the table goes, wow, that is amazing. The DM goes, I have been running this game at conventions for like 3 months. I have never seen that happen before. And all of us literally just took our phones out. We're like, we've got to capture this. All of us took pictures. Like the entire table, even the dude that rolled is like, we have to get this. Interesting thing about that, at the after we've been playing, like after we've been at the table for like 20 minutes, another player kind of just shows up and kind of sits down at the table and goes, hey, really sorry I'm late. I had some stuff that I was doing. We thought nothing of it. At the end of the game, as the DM's going, hey, I hope you guys all had fun. Thank you for coming. We got done a little bit early, and so we're just shooting the shit. The guy that sat down at our table, it was him and his wife. The wife worked for Steve Jackson Games, and she worked on the Munchkin team. So I got to play D&D with one of the people that makes Munchkin. And again, we had no idea. They just sat down. They were random strangers. But it was such a cool, interesting experience. So yeah, play with strangers. It's fun. That's a really... Don't take that out of context. Children, be wary of strangers. But if you walk into a friendly local GameStop and people are there to play D&D and they don't, look skeevy, playing D&D with strangers is fun. Go to conventions. Go to friendly local game stores. Have fun with people. It is a lot of fun. And it is a really, really fast way to learn how to DM. Because if you're good, or to be perfectly honest, if you're passable, you don't have to be a good GM. You just have to be passable. You will never have to worry about finding a game. There will always be a shortage of good GMs. It's just always going to be a thing. So if you want to play regularly, become a GM. And the fastest way to learn is to just do it a lot. And you will always have a chance to run games for people. It's just how it works. Anyway, it's going to be all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.